with ODM and focus on that statement by ODM leader Raila Odinga that the National Super Alliance will tally and announce its own results for comparison with the results released by IEBC. The coalition plans to have a committee of 50 people for every polling station who will act as party agents and voter marshals. The move to have an alternative tallying center has been rejected by the government, and NASA has been told to respect the Constitution. State House spokesperson Manoah Esipisu said the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is the only body mandated by the Constitution to run the elections. Let's listen in to what the NASA leaders had to say about this before we have a conversation about the legality of these statements here in studio.
IEBC peke yake hapana. IEBC itatangaza yao na tutafananisha na yetu.
All right, let's now speak to Peter Wanyama. He is a constitutional lawyer joining me in studio now. Thank you very much, Peter, for coming in. We've just had that statement from ODM and opposition leader Raila Odinga. How legal is it?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I think it undermines the integrity and dignity of the electoral process if we allow political parties to be doing the work which IEBC is supposed to be doing. From a constitutional standpoint, it's only the IEBC which is empowered to manage the electoral process, including announcing the results. And therefore, any mechanism outside the IEBC is really, in my view, a process that undermines the institutional credibility and the entire electoral process. What I will encourage political parties to do is that you can maintain your data. You can collect your data in the back of your offices. But announcing these results has a legal and a constitutional implication. And if I may add, probably a political implication. We don't want to go the way of Gambia and countries in West Africa in terms of political parties then coming up, announcing the results, and then, of course, their supporters will then say that we only recognize that result. So, in my view, we need to really refrain from doing that. We need to support IEBC. It is a body that is the only that's mandated by the Constitution to manage the electoral process.
Well, since Occupy Harambee Avenue or Occupy Anniversary Towers, the protest to oust the previous commissioners, the IEBC has been working really hard to restore the Kenyans' confidence in this particular institution. By these statements we are seeing from top-notch leaders in the political space, what does this do to the image of IEBC?
There's a major problem that we might face as a country if we don't learn in building institutions. IEBC, in my view, is a new institution. We need to ensure that whatever we do from a political standpoint is something which builds the image of and credibility of the institution to manage the electoral process. In my view, if you look at the way the commissioners were appointed and the way they were selected, and the entire legal framework which was negotiated between the political parties with a view to develop a compromise, in my view, that was a process of incrementally increasing the credibility of the commission. And in my view, we need to give the commission time and opportunity to manage the electoral process. If we make those statements which we see political leaders making in terms of actually doing the work of IEBC, then in my view we will be creating a very dangerous precedent, and maybe it's time to alert IECC. Perhaps we are laying basis for post-election violence. So remember that political parties in Kenya create their support based on tribes. If you look at the Jubilee coalition, there are two dominant tribes in Jubilee. If you look at the CORD coalition, the NASA coalition, again, that aspect of tribe really informs political building in Kenya. So that if you attempt to create that division by saying that we are the ones who have won and therefore we need to govern the country, and then the other side, of course, then creates the opposite basis and all that. So it becomes a problem. That's why it is important. The constitutional legal framework has a process to let an independent body, the IEBC, to do that process, to manage the entire electoral cycle. And if anyone has a problem with it, there are mechanisms for resolving disputes.
Yes. But before they get to the mechanisms to resolve this dispute, quickly before I let you go, what can parties do? Because we have a history of disgruntled voices after every elections. What can parties do to ensure that at the end of an election they don't say, oh, kura ziliibwa? What would you advise political parties to do?
What I will advise political parties to do is that they need to learn that the electoral process, the election results are not a do or die situation. We need to learn to accept the election results. Whether credible or not credible, we need to accept those election results. If they are not credible, then the Constitution has provided a mechanism for you to challenge the electoral results. If it at the local level, there's a process. At the national level, if you want to challenge the electoral results for the president, there's a mechanism for doing that. So let's learn to accept the electoral results as a way of also building the institutions that we have, institutions which we have established in the Constitution. Otherwise, we'll be setting this country to a very, very dangerous precedent. Yeah. We've witnessed this in Ivory Coast, Gambia, and we don't want to take Kenya through that path.
Peter, thank you so much for coming in. Peter Wanyama is a